Home selling, step 9, closing your home sale, title, funding, in the last 72 hours. If you're closing your home sale, you're in the final stretch, but this is also where sellers often get surprised. Most of the work is already done, yet the last few days can feel tense because the moving parts you don't control, lenders, title, appraisal timing, and paperwork, can still cause friction. By this point, inspections should be finished, repairs negotiated, and the option period behind you. The deal should be pointed toward the runway. Your job now is not to renegotiate the flight plan, it's to keep the runway clear and avoid introducing turbulence. One distinction matters more than most sellers realize. In Texas, closing and funding are not the same moment. Closing is when documents are signed and delivered. Funding is when the lender's money actually reaches the title company and the transaction completes. You may sign and still not be done. The gap matters for possession, moving plans, and downstream purchases. Lenders also perform final employment, credit, and documentation checks right before funding. A late stall doesn't mean the deal is broken, it means the system is doing what it was supposed to do. In markets like Abilene, another local reality shows up. Appraisals can arrive late. When that happens, stress tends to spike in two ways. Sometimes value comes in short and must be solved quickly. Other times, the appraiser flags a condition issue that triggers lender required repairs when everyone thought the hard part was over. These are funding conditions. If they are not addressed, the loan does not close. Most inspection driven issues should already be resolved in the prior step. Step 9 is not where new repair wish lists should appear, but surprises can still happen, especially if no inspection was performed and the appraisal becomes the first serious third party look at the property. Roof issues, peeling paint, safety concerns, or lender overlays can surface late. When they do, your realtor's role is not to work miracles. It's to help you decide quickly and clearly whether curing the issue preserves the deal or whether refusing it means accepting the consequences. Not all late stage problems involve repairs. Most are paper problems, title issues, unreleased liens, estate documentation, survey encroachments, HOA balances, or payoff delays that can all appear late. These issues are usually not personal failures. They're administrative realities, and the solution is paperwork, coordination, and time. In the final 72 hours, the correct posture is calm verification, not last minute heroics. This is the don't joggle elbows phase. Your agent should be confirming milestones with title and the other side, but this is not the moment to reopen negotiations or introduce new variables. A clean landing requires restraint. From the seller's perspective, deadlines at this stage are usually about buyer performance, financing, lender conditions, and documentations rather than your own tasks. If timelines slip, contracts may allow remedy, but this is where judgment matters. Being theoretically entitled to earnest money is not the same thing as making the right decision. In practice, earnest money functions as real leverage only when a buyer walks away without making a good faith effort to close. When a buyer remains engaged and the deal fails because of appraisal, financing, or process friction, enforcing forfeiture often creates more damage than benefit. It can derail the buyer's ability to purchase another home, delay relisting, and poison goodwill without improving your outcome. Staying engaged and pushing for progress usually produces better results than escalating prematurely. As you approach closing, the money side of the transaction comes into sharp focus. Two documents matter most: the closing disclosure and the settlement statement. The closing disclosure is lender driven and primarily designed for the buyer. Some sellers find it less intuitive. The settlement statement is usually clearer. It shows the flow of money in plain terms, sale price, costs, payoffs, credits, and net proceeds. If the final number feels lower than expected, it's rarely because something new was invented at the finish line. It is almost always transaction friction, concessions, prorations, payoffs, timing, or credits that were already part of the deal. If you did your work in step 2 and understood your rough net proceeds realistically, there should be no true surprises here, only confirmation. Your realtor should review these documents for consistency with the contract, but they are not the authority on lender math or title accounting. The title company is. If something does not match what you agreed to, ask immediately. Errors are often fixable before funding. After funding, corrections become slower, messier, and sometimes impossible. Commissions should also be boring at this stage. The percentage you agreed to is the percentage that should appear. Closing is not the moment for new administrative, marketing, or transaction fees to surface. If something unfamiliar appears, pause and ask questions before signing. Transparency here protects relationships long after the transaction ends. One warning does deserve repetition. Wire fraud is real. Do not trust wiring instructions delivered by email or text, even if they look legitimate. Always verify instructions by calling the title company using a number you already trust. Funds sent to the wrong place are generally not recoverable. Final walkthroughs and possession logistics also matter. Buyers are confirming that the home matches expectations and that agreed repairs are complete. Keep utilities on, avoid last-minute projects, and leave the property exactly as agreed. Most walkthrough disputes are not about value, they're about expectations not being met. One late-stage issue that causes unnecessary frustration for buyers is cleanliness at final walkthrough. Buyers are not walking the property to admire finishes, they're mentally moving in. A home that is dirty, dusty, or visibly unclean creates immediate stress, even if the contract does not explicitly require professional cleaning. This is not an apartment turnover, and there's no deposit being withheld, but buyers expect a home that is reasonably clean and ready to occupy, not one they need to scrub before unpacking. Dirty bathrooms, greasy kitchens, pet hair, or trash left behind routinely trigger last-minute complaints that could have been avoided. Sellers are often exhausted by this point. That's normal. This is where a professional cleaning makes sense. Most realtors can recommend cleaners who can handle a move-out clean quickly and inexpensively relative to the transaction. Paying for cleaning is often the cheapest way to protect goodwill, avoid walkthrough disputes, and keep funding on track. The goal is to remove an avoidable emotional obstacle at the moment the buyer is deciding whether the purchase feels good. Closings sometimes slip. When they do, the first question is simple. Is the delay caused by the lender, title, documents, or buyer action? Once you know that, the response is usually one of three things: a short documented extension, proof of progress toward clear to close, or preparation to enforce remedies if non-performance becomes clear. The goal is not to win a fight, it's to preserve the highest probability path to completion. There is another reality sellers should keep in mind at this stage. If you walk away over a relatively small issue, you do not reset to a better position. You reset to uncertainty. A new buyer means starting inspections, appraisal, underwriting, and negotiation again, often under weaker conditions. Backup offers, if they exist, usually came in lower, carried more risk, or relied on shakier financing. Even strong markets punish relisting after a failed contract because time and prior fallout change buyer perception. This doesn't mean you accept unreasonable terms. It means you evaluate disputes in context. Walking away is not a neutral act. It is a bet that the next outcome will be better, and in most cases, that bet will not pay off. The goal at this stage is not to prove a point. It is to choose the path with the highest probability of closing on acceptable terms. The right mindset for this phase is coordination and risk control. Buyers are anxious, sellers are tired, lenders are deadline driven, title is paperwork driven, drama helps no one. Confirmation, verification, and restraint get deals across the line. Once funding is confirmed, the sale is complete, but practical wrap-up isn't always instant. In the next step, we'll cover what happens after closing, proceeds timing, payoffs and releases, documents to keep, possession cleanup, and how to avoid after closing surprises.